Welcome the rare gems. Pressure does not create a Sigma woman. It simply strips away everything that is not truly her. There is a certain shift that happens inside a Sigma female when life pushes her past the usual limits. It is not loud or dramatic. It is more like a quiet internal switch that clicks on when she realizes she has no space for fear or confusion. Extreme survival mode for her is not a desperate state. It is a sharpened version of herself that appears when challenges refuse to back down. In this state, she becomes deeply present. She pays attention to things she usually overlooks. Her mind starts sorting through chaos with remarkable clarity. Old emotions that used to slow her down fall away because she has no interest in carrying anything that does not help her move forward. She becomes disciplined in a way that surprises even her closest friends. She cuts through noise and focuses on what must be done right now. This version of her has no interest in excuses. She is not trying to prove anything. She is simply doing what her situation demands. She relies heavily on her instincts because she has learned that her intuition is often more accurate than the loud opinions around her. She watches everything quietly and makes decisions that others would hesitate to touch. Survival mode does not make her hard. It makes her precise. It brings out a level of emotional control that protects her from panic or manipulation. She knows how to keep her thoughts steady even when everything around her feels unstable. It is in these moments that her real strength becomes impossible to ignore. Let's dive in deeper. Rare gems. Number 1. Her tolerance level drops to 0. When a Sigma female reaches that point where her tolerance drops to 0, it is not an angry reaction. It is clarity. It is the moment she finally stops negotiating with things that drain her. She becomes very honest with herself about what she can accept and what she refuses to carry any longer. It feels like waking up after being half asleep for years and suddenly realizing how much noise she used to tolerate. At this stage, she removes anything that disrespects her peace or her intelligence. She does not wait for the 10th apology. She does not replay conversations in her head, hoping people will do better next time. She understands that protecting her peace is not selfish. It is survival. Imagine someone walking through their room and switching off every light that wastes energy. That is exactly how she moves through her life. She shuts down every source of chaos without giving it a chance to explain itself. For example, if someone keeps interrupting her boundaries with small jokes or little comments that feel disrespectful, she does not argue. She simply removes herself from their circle. If a relationship forces her to shrink or settle, she cuts the emotional cord without announcing it. She may still smile, but the access is gone. She does not do this with bitterness. She does it because she knows peace cannot coexist with people who take advantage of her kindness. Her zero-tolerance phase is not about becoming cold. It is about becoming selective. She starts treating her mental space like sacred ground. She guards it the same way a warrior guards something valuable. She lets in only what feeds her growth. Anything that tries to confuse her, guilt, trip her, or manipulate her is removed instantly. She has learned that emotional distractions are expensive. They cost her energy, focus, and joy. This version of her lives with a quiet kind of strength. She listens to her inner voice more than she listens to anyone else. She knows that the moment she begins to protect her peace with precision, her life shifts. This is the stage where she becomes harder to fool, harder to drain, and impossible to control. Number 2, she becomes brutally realistic. When a Sigma female becomes brutally realistic, something powerful shifts inside her. Survival mode teaches her that pretending things are fine does not fix anything. Ignoring the truth only delays the pain. So she begins to see life with a level of honesty most people avoid. This is not negativity. It is clarity. It is the moment she decides to stop romanticizing people and situations that have already shown her who they really are. Being brutally realistic means she stops giving people qualities they have not earned. If someone keeps disappointing her, she no longer creates excuses for them in her mind. She sees the pattern and calls it what it is. If a relationship has reached the point where her presence is no longer valued, she accepts it instead of waiting for the other person to wake up. She does not chase potential. She evaluates reality. For example, if she is dealing with someone who promises change every week but their actions remain the same, she pays attention to the actions, not the promises. She understands that words are easy. Consistency is truth. This mindset protects her from emotional traps. It keeps her from investing in situations that are already broken. When she becomes brutally realistic, she also becomes incredibly calm. There is no panic in her decisions because she is dealing with facts, not fantasies. She sees who is loyal, who is useful, who is honest, and who is only pretending. She sees which environments drain her and which ones strengthen her. She sees her own strengths and weaknesses without flinching. This level of honesty allows her to grow faster than people expect. She does not go back to her old way of thinking once she reaches this stage. She no longer tells herself comforting stories to avoid uncomfortable truths. She embraces what is real because it gives her power. It gives her control over her life. It helps her set boundaries that actually work. Being brutally realistic is not a harsh personality shift. It is a form of emotional maturity. It is wisdom earned through struggle. It is what allows her to walk forward with clear eyes, steady steps, and a heart that refuses to be fooled again. Number 3. She begins to reinvent herself. When a Sigma female begins to reinvent herself, she is not doing it to impress anyone. She is doing it because survival mode has revealed a version of her that she can no longer ignore. Reinvention becomes the natural response to everything she has learned about herself. It is like discovering a hidden room inside her own mind and realizing it is filled with tools she never bothered to open. Survival mode forces her to tap into abilities she did not know she possessed. She becomes more strategic. She becomes more patient. She becomes more disciplined in the small choices that shape her life. This transformation does not happen with fireworks. It happens quietly, like a seed cracking open underground long before anyone sees the flower. Reinvention shows up in her habits first. For example, she might suddenly lose interest in conversations that do not help her grow. She begins to wake up earlier without forcing it because her mind is hungry for clarity. She stops spending energy on worrying and starts spending that energy on building. She becomes intentional with her time and careful with her emotions. And the more she practices this new discipline, the more capable she becomes. There is also a silent danger in this stage, not the destructive kind, but the kind that comes from someone who has rebuilt herself piece by piece. She stops reacting to life. She starts designing it. She becomes dangerous in the way a skilled chess player is dangerous. While others make noise, she makes progress. While others speak with emotion, she speaks with purpose. Reinvention becomes her weapon because it gives her freedom. It gives her control over her own narrative. If she outgrows a mindset, she replaces it. If she discovers she has been limiting herself, she upgrades the way she thinks. If a situation tries to break her, she turns the pressure into fuel for growth. This transformation is never done for attention. It is done because she understands that staying the same in a world that keeps testing her is not an option. Reinvention is how she stays ahead. It is how she becomes stronger without becoming bitter. It is how she rises again and again, each time more refined, more aware, and more unstoppable than before. Number 4, she becomes emotionally untouchable. When a Sigma female becomes emotionally untouchable, it is not because she is empty or numb. She feels everything deeply, sometimes more deeply than she would ever admit. But survival mode teaches her that emotions are powerful only when they are controlled, not when they are allowed to run wild. So she begins to protect her emotional world the way a careful strategist protects the most important part of their plan. This shift does not happen overnight. It builds slowly. She notices how certain people drain her and how certain conversations leave her feeling smaller than before. She notices that giving the wrong people emotional access is one of the fastest ways to lose her balance. So she closes the gate. Not out of coldness, but out of wisdom. Becoming emotionally untouchable means she stops responding to every emotional pull. For example, if someone tries to guilt-trip her, she no longer feels the instant pressure to fix their feelings. If someone tries to provoke her just to see her react, she does not give them the satisfaction. Her calm becomes her armor. Her silence becomes her strategy. She refuses to let anyone drag her into emotional battles that only exist to drain her. She learns how to separate what she feels from what she does. She might feel hurt, but she will not act from pain. She might feel disappointed, but she will not approach life with bitterness. She develops the rare ability to pause before reacting. That pause is where her strength lives. It is the moment she chooses clarity over chaos. Her heart is still alive, still capable of deep love, loyalty, compassion, and softness. But she gives those parts of herself only to people who prove they can handle them with care. Everyone else meets the version of her that is steady, collected, and impossible to destabilize. This emotional untouchability is not a wall, it is a filter. It is how she stays mentally sharp when life becomes unpredictable. It is how she stays grounded when people expect her to break. It is how she survives the storms without losing the essence of who she is. Number 5. She prepares for a comeback while everyone thinks she is finished. When people think a Sigma female is finished, that is usually the moment she begins her most powerful transformation. She does not argue with rumors. She does not defend herself. She does not waste energy trying to prove she is still standing. Instead, she steps back into silence and uses that space to rebuild herself in ways no one sees coming. This is where her true power comes alive. She understands that survival is not about clinging to life. It is about preparing for the next chapter with a level of discipline and focus that most people cannot maintain. While others watch her from the outside and assume she has nothing left, she is quietly sharpening every part of herself that matters. Her comeback is not an accident. It is crafted. During this hidden phase, she studies where things went wrong. She learns from every mistake, every betrayal, and every disappointment. She becomes a student of her own life. For example, if she trusted someone who did not deserve it, she does not drown in regret. She simply adjusts her radar and becomes more precise in choosing who gets close to her next time. If she failed at something important, she does not use that failure to define herself. She uses it as a blueprint for the strategy she will use in her return. The most intriguing part is the calmness she carries during this rebuilding season. People who counted her out expect her to break, but she becomes even more focused. People who thought she was weak expect her to stay down, but she rebuilds her foundation stronger than before. She uses solitude the way a warrior uses a training ground. She strengthens her mind. She strengthens her discipline. She strengthens her sense of direction. By the time she returns, she does not look like someone who survived. She looks like someone who upgraded. Her comeback does not require announcements or explanations. Her growth speaks for her. Her results silence every doubt. And the people who once thought she was finished are left wondering how she managed to rise with such clarity, such power, and such unshakable purpose. This is her secret. She never stays down. She prepares. She evolves. She returns transformed. Number 6. Her mind stops entertaining emotions and shifts into pure strategy. When her mind stops entertaining emotions, it does not mean she has stopped feeling. It means she has learned that feelings, no matter how intense, can cloud judgment when the stakes are high. Survival mode forces her to strip away distractions and think in pure strategy. Her thoughts become precise, deliberate, and focused entirely on outcomes that matter. She begins to approach life like a master solving a complex puzzle. Every piece matters. Every choice carries weight. She evaluates situations carefully, anticipating consequences before acting. There is no room for impulsive reactions or decisions driven by frustration, anger, or fleeting desire. For example, if she is navigating a difficult professional challenge, she studies the moves of everyone involved, predicts possible obstacles, and positions herself where she can have the greatest impact. Her emotions are acknowledged but stored. They do not dictate her actions. This shift transforms how she handles people and situations. Interactions become tactical. She listens not just to words, but to intent, patterns, and hidden motives. Every decision is calculated. She knows the value of patience, of waiting for the right moment to act. Acting too soon or reacting emotionally is a mistake she can no longer afford. She thinks several steps ahead, almost as if she is playing chess in real life, seeing moves and counter-moves invisible to everyone else. Her mind, once distracted by the noise of doubt, hurt, or desire, now operates with surgical clarity. Every action serves a purpose. Every choice is aligned with the larger goal. It is not coldness, it is efficiency. It is a way to survive and thrive when every second counts and every misstep can cost her dearly. This strategic state makes her formidable. People who underestimate her see only the calm exterior, not the mind running 1,000 calculations at once. Her strength lies not in what she feels, but in how she uses those feelings as data, shaping them into precision moves. She becomes unstoppable, not because she is unfeeling, but because she has mastered the art of turning emotion into strategy and chaos into clarity. Number 7. She simplifies her entire life. When she decides to simplify her life, it is not about minimalism for show. It is about survival and clarity. She has learned that chaos, distractions, and clutter, both physical and emotional, slow her down. Everything that does not serve her growth, protect her peace, or strengthen her path is quietly removed. This is not done in haste or anger. It is done with the calm precision of someone who knows exactly what she needs to thrive. People who drain energy, relationships that offer more frustration than value, and even habits that feel comforting but ultimately hold her back are quietly let go. For example, friends who constantly complain without taking action, or colleagues who thrive on drama rather than solutions, no longer have space in her life. She does not argue or explain. She simply redirects her energy to what matters. Conversations that waste time, environments that create stress, and routines that keep her stagnant are streamlined or removed entirely. This process is not about isolation. It is about clarity and focus. By cutting out what is unnecessary, she frees herself to pour attention and energy into what truly matters. She notices her time stretching further, her mind feeling lighter, and her goals coming into sharper view. Every action she takes becomes intentional. She no longer spreads herself thin, trying to keep everyone else comfortable or meet arbitrary expectations. Even her thoughts become simplified. Overthinking, obsessing, and dwelling on things she cannot control are replaced with practical solutions and decisive action. She learns to value quality over quantity in all areas of her life. The effect is powerful. People around her start noticing a difference. even if they cannot quite name it. She becomes calm, yet commanding, efficient, yet magnetic. Her energy is no longer scattered, but concentrated on survival, growth, and purpose. By simplifying her life, she not only survives the storms, but builds herself into a version that is sharper, stronger, and far more unstoppable than anyone could have imagined. Number 8. Her instincts become louder than her feelings. When her instincts become louder than her feelings, it is a turning point in her survival mode. She has learned the hard way that emotions can mislead, that hope can blind, and that sympathy can make her soft when she needs to be sharp. In these moments, she stops listening to the pull of fear, anger, or longing. Instead, she tunes into the inner voice that has never steered her wrong. This voice is quiet but relentless. It notices patterns that others miss. It observes subtleties in behavior, tone, and timing that escape the casual eye. It senses danger before it appears and recognizes opportunities before they are obvious. For example, if she is navigating a tricky social or professional situation, she will notice inconsistencies in words versus actions, the tension that others ignore, and the small signals that reveal true intentions. Her instincts filter out the noise of excuses, stories, and illusions, leaving only what is real. She trusts this inner compass because survival has taught her its value. When others panic, overreact, or get lost in emotion, she moves with quiet certainty. She does not second-guess. She does not rationalize. She acts decisively because her instincts are informed by experience, observation, and clarity. This instinctual mode is not coldness. It is a form of heightened awareness that protects her mind and guides her strategy. It allows her to respond to threats before they become problems and to seize chances that others fail to recognize. Her feelings still exist, but they no longer dictate her decisions. They are data, not direction. The result is a version of her that is almost untouchable. People underestimate her because she appears calm, even passive. But behind that calm is a mind that reads the world with surgical precision, guided by instincts that have become louder and more trustworthy than anything else. She moves through chaos with confidence, seeing clearly what others cannot, and acting in ways that leave everyone around her surprised and often powerless to stop her. Number 9. She starts measuring loyalty by actions only. Words lose their value. She pays attention to consistency, effort, sacrifice, and presence. When she begins measuring loyalty by actions only, it is because she has realized that words are cheap. Promises, excuses, and explanations cannot carry the weight of trust. Survival mode teaches her that true loyalty is proven, not spoken. She no longer judges people by what they say. She judges them by what they consistently do, how much effort they put in, and whether they show up when it matters most. Consistency becomes her benchmark. If someone says they will be there but keeps failing to follow through, she no longer makes allowances. She notices patterns and understands that reliability is not occasional, it is habitual. Effort matters too. People who truly care and respect her energy will go out of their way to support her, even in small ways. She sees the difference between lip service and action, and she does not tolerate the former. Sacrifice becomes another measure. Those who are willing to give time, attention, or comfort for her sake reveal the depth of their loyalty. Words alone cannot replace the willingness to invest in someone's well-being. Presence is equally important. Emotional and physical presence is the clearest signal that someone values her and respects the boundaries she has set. She notices who makes an effort to show up without being asked, who communicates honestly, and who stands firm even when situations are uncomfortable or inconvenient. For example, If a friend constantly promises support but disappears when challenges arise, she no longer dwells on excuses. She observes the absence as truth. If a partner says they value her but consistently fails to act in alignment with their words, she sees the real story in their actions. This approach does not make her cynical. It makes her wise. She has learned that investing trust in the wrong people costs her peace, focus, and energy. By paying attention to what is tangible and observable, she protects herself from disappointment and ensures her life is surrounded by people who truly match her standards. Loyalty is no longer a conversation. It is a reality she can see and feel through actions. Number 10. She becomes protective of her energy like a fortress. Anyone who tries to disturb her mental space gets blocked immediately and permanently. When she becomes protective of her energy, it is as if she has built an invisible fortress around her mind and soul. This is not about being unkind or isolated. It is about survival. She has learned that mental and emotional energy is precious, and once it is wasted on negativity, manipulation, or distraction, it cannot be regained easily. She treats her focus, her calm, and her clarity as treasures, and she does not allow anyone to take them lightly. Anyone who tries to disturb her mental space meets the same consequence. They are blocked immediately and permanently. There is no debate, no second chance, and no explanation required. If someone brings unnecessary drama, tries to manipulate her, or drains her attention with complaints and excuses, she does not entertain it. She removes it. She understands that maintaining her mental boundaries is the only way to function at full capacity. This protection extends to every part of her life. Conversations are filtered. Relationships are tested not by words, but by the way people act around her energy. Habits, routines, and environments that feel chaotic or toxic are adjusted or eliminated. For example, if a colleague or friend repeatedly disrupts her focus with negativity or gossip, she either distances herself from them or sets strict limits on interaction. If a social space constantly leaves her feeling depleted, she chooses silence or absence over participation. Her fortress is not visible, but its effects are undeniable. People sense her boundaries and know she will not bend for convenience or comfort. She moves through the world calmly, yet powerfully, because her energy is reserved for what truly matters: growth, strategy, and survival. Being protective of her energy does not make her rigid. It makes her precise. It allows her to operate with clarity, act decisively, and respond only to what aligns with her purpose. This is how she maintains mental freedom, sharpness, and strength in a world that constantly tests both. Anyone who cannot respect her space is simply shown the gate, leaving her life cleaner, quieter, and far more powerful than before. Number 11. She develops a strange calmness. Even in chaos, she becomes steady. It is the calmness of someone who has accepted the worst and is prepared to rise above it with strength and clarity. When she develops this strange calmness, it is not the kind that comes from ignorance or avoidance. It is the calm of someone who has faced storms, seen the depths of betrayal, and stood at the edge of despair, and survived. Survival mode has taught her that panic, anger, and anxiety are luxuries she cannot afford. Instead, she moves through chaos with a quiet steadiness that is both unnerving and magnetic to those around her. This calmness is not passive. It is active, like a still lake that hides powerful currents beneath its surface. She observes everything, notices everything, and processes situations with clarity that others lose in their emotional reactions. For example, if she faces a sudden crisis at work or in her personal life, she does not rush blindly. She evaluates, plans, and executes, while everyone else is reacting impulsively. Her mind is a clear space where solutions form naturally, even under pressure. Part of this calm comes from acceptance. She has looked at the worst-case scenarios and allowed herself to confront them without flinching. She knows that life can strip away control at any moment, but she also knows that strength, strategy, and patience can overcome almost anything. That understanding removes fear. It replaces it with focus. People are often unsettled by her calm because it contrasts sharply with the chaos around her. She does not need to shout to be heard. She does not need to act dramatically to influence outcomes. Her presence alone signals control, stability, and quiet power. This calmness also protects her. It prevents her from being manipulated by others' panic or drama. It allows her to make decisions from a place of strength rather than reaction. It is the kind of steadiness that turns pressure into clarity, fear into strategy, and chaos into opportunity. In essence, her strange calmness is the ultimate survival tool. It is the sign of someone who has been tested, who has refined herself under fire, and who now moves through the world with unshakable confidence and precision, untouched by storms that would overwhelm most people. In final words, strength is not shown when life is easy. It is forged in the fire of struggle. When a Sigma female enters extreme survival mode, she becomes a force that is both quiet and undeniable. This is not about loud displays or seeking attention. It is about transformation, clarity, and relentless focus. She sheds everything that does not serve her purpose, distractions, toxic people, and habits that weaken her, and sharpens the parts of herself that matter most. Her mind becomes precise, her instincts sharper, and her emotional world protected like sacred ground. In this state, she sees the truth without sugarcoating it. She measures loyalty by actions alone, trusts her inner voice above all else, and channels every ounce of energy into what will move her forward. She simplifies her life, eliminates chaos, and strengthens her mental, emotional, and strategic muscles. Every decision is deliberate. Every move is calculated. Survival mode is not about merely getting by. It is about rebuilding herself stronger, wiser, and more unstoppable than before. The most striking part is her calmness. Even in chaos, she remains steady, observing, analyzing, and preparing. This calm is not emptiness. It is the clarity that comes from having faced the worst and knowing she can rise above it. Her focus becomes frightening, her strategy flawless, and her presence carries an energy that demands respect without a word. Extreme survival mode is where the Sigma female proves her true power. It is where weakness turns into strength, pressure becomes precision, and resilience becomes a weapon. Those who witness it may not understand it at first, but they cannot ignore the result. A woman transformed, unstoppable, and unshakable, rising from the storm with clarity, power, and unwavering purpose. Thank you for watching, and God bless you. Being a Sigma female means embracing your mind, your instincts, and your unique perspective. It means trusting yourself and letting your actions quietly reveal your intelligence. If you have ever felt misunderstood, underestimated, or overlooked, this is your reminder that your mind works in ways most people cannot even see. Watch this video to the end, because every insight you discover here will not only confirm what you have always known about yourself, but it will also show you how to use your quiet intelligence to navigate life with confidence, power, and freedom. Thank you for watching, and God bless you.